All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. We'd also like to give double honors to our elders, bishops, and apostles of Great Millstone that do root well. And we'd like to say peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, to the whole elect and the 1/3, and Adon Ratazah. This lesson will be edifying as well as exhorting to the sincere sheep of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. And the Wada Abanawa Yahweh Bashim El Shai Bashim Rakakodash for giving us the inspiration to do this lesson. And as the title reads, still groaning in Egypt. All right. And I'm here with the beloved brother Karatazah. And the Wada Bashim El Shai Bashim Rakakodash for even allowing brothers to get together, in captivity, and not only get together, but to be able to do lessons, to edify, counsel, have certain topics that we can speak on so that the body can be fed, But pretty much we just doing a quick walk and talk. It's not going to be too long, but a walk and talk. We're going to probably go straight all the way down and take that left.
Okay.
But a walk and talk about, how we are yet this day in our captivity. Okay. And this place, the way it's set up, this place is set up to, wear you out. It's set up to keep you busy. It's set up to, hinder you from serving your God. And this is why Yahweh, through Moses told Pharaoh, let my people go so that they may serve me.
Yep.
And this is why at the end of the day, when it comes to us and our servitude, it's ultimately in the spirit and not by the works, even though we're working out our own salvation. So it's heavy, man. If you are not striving in the spirit, you're gonna dwindle away.
Mm-hmm.
So we work, we're worn out, we're on the plantation too, and we understand. You want to cross through and walk on that one? You got that precept, brother?
Yep.
Okay.
This is Exodus 2:23, and it came to pass in process of time.
I'm just gonna get on this side so I can hear you.
And Exodus 2:23, and it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage.
Right, and it's heavy with that is you'll have times where our captivity wasn't as bad. Yep. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is during the Persians and the Medes, and it was prophesied for Cyrus to be used to allow us to rebuild the second temple.
Yep.
So that's an example to show you, even though we may be in captivity, the captivity may not be as bad as it once was.
Right.
But we're entering a time where you have a cruel Lord in office, which we believe, starting with Elder Pastor Har, as he said, that's Nero. Okay.
Right. Yep.
So with that, Shalom, Yabash Masha Brakatham. All right. As well, it is the Sabbath. Okay. But you got Nero in office, and this captivity is about to ramp up. Right now we're dealing with just the 9 to 5, the bills. You're dealing with holes in your pocket, but soon Jacob gonna have holes in their body.
Yeah.
Like Jacob's trouble is coming. So if you are not utilizing this time right now to lock in the spirit, then how are you going to be able to handle no day like it?
Right.
You got it, brother.
And it's Exodus 2:23, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of bondage.
Right. So we're sighing. Like it said, what's that, Ezekiel 9:4? Sigh and cry.
Yep.
You ever just sit down and you don't even mean to, and you go,
yeah.
And that's actually a response that the body it naturally produces, like a when a child is disciplined and they're crying, they go. That's actually your body's way of handling stress. So don't forget to take deep breaths, brothers.
Yeah.
All right, and you sisters, but I'm talking to you brothers, first, and then you sisters as well. Okay, don't forget to work on your prayers, your breathing techniques, certain things that you're dealing with. Okay, keep going. Yep, trauma response. We got a lot of trauma that we are being healed from. And you got to understand that too. That's why now in this walk, you should be reacting different to things that you didn't react different to before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like things that get you, like when something strange happens.
Right.
You know, like all of a sudden, you know, this morning on the way to the plantation, strange things was happening.
Yeah.
But in the spirit, I'm like, but I'm not reacting how I used to before.
Right. It's like a video game. You know, like you fail certain missions, you know, an accident, but then, you know, as you fail, you learn how to not use that move no more, and then you got another move to beat the boss.
You get a counter.
You know?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You got a counter.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. You got it.
And it says, and they cried, and their cry came up unto the Most High.
Right.
By reason of the bondage.
Exactly, because we have a God.
Right.
Okay, so you have to continue to cry to Yahweh Shem El Shai. What's the parable that Yahweh Shai said? Even if you cry to an unjust king, he's going to answer.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to remind yourself to cry to the Lord. You got to remind yourself to constantly send up curses on his evil place. Okay, and the Lord will put you through situations where he'll make you send curses up.
Yeah.
He'll make you cry to him.
Yeah.
Okay,
will.
so the Lord is keeping us sober, but the point is, this is not our end all be all. This is not normal for you to be exhausted, being overworked. You know, be like, one thing that I noticed that Babylon does, like ancient Babylon, it wants you to worship.
Yep.
It wants you to worship it. It wants you to bow to it. It wants you to reverence it. You know, and you have to deal with all that, and still make sure you're putting Yahweh Shem El Shai first.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, I see why it says we are yet this day in our captivity.
Yeah.
Because people look around and be like, nah, you free. So because you don't see us picking and chaining and chain ganging and,
right.
you know, fucking crawdaddies and
right.
living out of shacks, now we're just free. Well, shit. Even when Jake was freed, they had nowhere to go when they kicked him out.
Yeah, literally.
And, you know, that's why they came out with tipping.
Right.
Because they weren't paying Jake, you know, to work. So they said, well, we're going to have customers pay them what they think they owe them.
Yeah.
And then that's the reason why minimum wage was even invented, because of us.
Yep.
You know, if you want, we could walk in the street more. I know it's a little narrow. But you know what I'm saying?
Just like the scriptures say.
Oh, narrow?
The narrow path.
You're right. You know? So did you know that, brothers? Did you know minimum wage was created because of us? You know, but you got it, bro.
Back in Exodus 2:24, and the Most High heard their groaning, and the Most High remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob.
Look at that right there.
Fire, man.
So the Lord remembers the covenant, man. This is why you got to continue to cry to Yahweh Shem El Shai, because we are a covenanted people. Okay, we have a contract with the creator, you know, because I've been really thinking about that lately. So like, I've been thinking about that lately, how, you know, no other nation has a God but us.
Right.
You know, like, to me, that's very powerful when you sit back and think about it, because you got hundreds of so-called gods.
Right.
But who's the true living God?
Right.
You know, so right there it says that he remembered the covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which to me, you know what that immediately makes me think about? Salvation, because he remembered Noah.
Right.
You know, during the time of the flood. So the Lord is remembering us.
Right.
Okay, the Lord is remembering us. And this is why it's so important for you to put your best spiritual foot forward in servitude, because this is also showing the Lord that we're being hindered in attempts to serving him.
Yeah.
We're being hindered. You know, I just literally, I'm like I said, I'm thankful for the job, but it's a Sabbath.
Yeah.
So now what would I say to IUIC?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And guess what? That's why the Lord sent Moses to Pharaoh.
Yep.
To say, let my people go, that they may serve me.
And that's why now the Lord has what? The prophets. And now the prophets are out telling you that we're going to be let go.
Yep.
But you're going to be judged, because we're going to be physically pulled from your hands. Hence why he'll be guilty of Exodus 21:16.
Yep.
If a man be found in his hands,
He shall surely be
killed.
Right.
He's going to be put to death.
As they say, deleted, unalive.
Keep
And
reading.
it says, and the Most High looked upon the children of Israel,
So he looked.
and going about the sons.
Right. Yep.
And it says, and the Most High had respect unto them.
See, that's the biggest thing right there is like, oh, look at that, 144. Like, remember Yahweh Shai said, though they called on me, I never knew you.
Yep.
See? Yeah. And then it's just fresh in my mind. But you had this dude, Allegay, he's getting rebuked by men in the world.
Yeah.
He's getting rebuked by men that are 2/3.
Yeah.
When you could have took heed to the rebuke from who we believe are men of the Lord or hopeful elect.
Yeah.
You see? So the Lord don't have respect on you. So look what happens to an Israelite who the Lord don't respect.
Yep.
How many times, brothers, have you in this walk seen something that's happened to a Jake, okay, that may not know he's an Israelite or know he's an Israelite, and then you like, damn, I wouldn't want that to happen to me.
Right.
You literally go, that's the curses.
Right.
You know, I know we deal with what we deal with, but we really be seeing the heaviness of the Lord's hand on our people that are not serving the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing. I don't want to fall into the hands of the enemies, you know, because I didn't obey my God.
Right.
You know?
This is Baruch 3:8. And
Be amongst these fucking people.
Right.
These fucking worker bees. That's why I tell you in Sirach 38, you know, you got men that can govern the city, but they ain't going to be sitting on the throne of Thanos. You know what I mean? Like,
they're not going to be amongst kings.
Thank you.
They won't be reverenced. Now, they may be compensated for your work, but you're not going to be, you know, sitting amongst us.
Like it says, I'm all excited, so okay, but like it says, they won't sit in a seat of justice and judgment.
Yes. Yep.
That's the thing. They're not going to be in the position we're going to be in, man.
Exactly.
This is why it's a very monumental thing, you know, that the Lord is dealing with us to give us the faculties and the spirit to be able to deal with Babylon and still say, man, I gotta do a lesson though.
Yeah.
I gotta do a lesson. You know.
Right.
That's why you don't want to you know, abhor the brotherhood. You don't want to, like the scriptures say, like pretty much you don't. Paul was speaking about it, like do not don't forsake the there's a specific word how he said it, but like don't forsake the ministry. Like when brothers are coming together, you know what I'm saying? I can't remember how he worded it, but basically he was saying like don't put off from being amongst each other.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's all good.
I was trying to look for it.
It's okay.
Okay.
Were you gonna go to Baruch?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Baruch 3:8. Behold, we are yet.
Could you start up a little? What's 5 say?
Oh, this is perfect.
Okay.
Baruch 3:5.
Well, see, that's the spirit. That's not me. The spirit say, hey, well, start up a little.
This is Baruch 3:5. Remember not the iniquities of our forefathers, but think upon thy power and thy name now at this time.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And what's so fire about that is, you know, we're in sinful flesh. Okay, we're in sinful bodies. You know, and this is the time now to serve the Lord in lows as well as in highs. You know, a lot of our people, they want to call, yo, try to bomb and this and that. But it's like, where are you at when, you know, inequities in the midst? Where are you at when doubts in the midst and mistakes are in the midst? This is what we're talking about here.
Right.
Okay, you have to understand that us as a nation of people are in this in particular position, of course, through prophecy, but through prophecy also because of curses.
Right.
And those curses we were subject to.
Yep.
So this body is subject to sin. So are you serving the Lord in the midst of that lowness?
Right.
You know, because you got so many guys out here that are acting holier than thou. And then like it says in Sirach, the 1st chapter, you know, pretty much I'm going to cast you in front of the congregation and show your sins, you know. So this is not the time to be loud and proud, man. It's time to be humble.
Yeah.
And repent and be sincere, you know.
Right.
Oh, right here. Let me see this. Hey, throw it, brothers. Lion of Judah, 144 at Tazawam. Romans 12:19. Let love be without dissimulation.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. And then this is verse 10. Be kindly affected one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business. What business? This business.
Right.
Okay, we're about our Father's business. Even though
Right.
you work all day for someone else's business, and then you get home and you can't be about the Father's business.
Right.
And it's something as simple. There's something as simple as this. You know, you don't think I want to just what she say? I sat my fat ass down.
Yeah.
Not so like it, but you know, you don't think you just want to sit down. Man, Jake tired. You just want to sit down, but it's like, nah, man, let's hit it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't always gotta go and create this huge presentation and, you know, and get these articles. Sometimes the best lessons are just the simplest ones.
Hit record.
Thank you. Just hit record, man. You know, because that's a tactic too that Satan be doing in the midst of Egypt is complicating simplicity.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah, like for example, like at grocery stores, like say you work there, they teach you how to bag shit. Why the fuck you need help to bag shit? It's
Right.
simple.
Right.
You know, Babylon wants you to be a robot.
Yep.
That's why when that mark of the beast that Sihib comes about, people are gonna be willingly to take it.
Because they're drunk off AI.
There you go.
And let me see. It says also, Romans 12:11, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation.
Exactly.
You have to actually learn how to be patient in the midst of a trial. Okay. And also, words have volume, so stop always just, I'm catching hell,
Right. Right.
I'm all right. Nah,
Right.
man, we Israelites.
Right.
We Israelites. Like, I was watching last night, I think it was Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson basically said, you got to enjoy the ride, even when it's bad or good.
Got to.
And then I was watching this other dude who I want to do a lesson on. His name's like Tom Platz. And he's basically a bodybuilder, but he's also a motivational speaker type.
Yeah.
And he was training this dude. And he was telling the dude it was his last squat. And he was like, come on. And then he had fell over. And he said, you see what you just did? Congratulations. You just reached failure.
Wow.
This is where you win. Congratulations. Winning starts with failure.
Yep.
You see? So when you're catching hell, that's not hell. That's a heavenly calling.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a heavenly calling that you are being called to give the opportunity to use the name of the Lord to get you out of it.
That's chastisement.
Yeah.
Like how it's written in Hebrews 12.
Right. It says, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayers. But Jake only knows instant noodle. What about instant prayer? You got to remind yourself to pray first. Like lately, I've been really meditating on reserving my reaction so that I can react correctly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of just reacting, I'm thinking how I want to react. Like chess, you don't just move. You know how many times I've lost a game of chess because I just made a move without analyzing first?
Yeah.
You know?
And that's wisdom. Knowing when to apply the scriptures, knowing when to speak, and knowing when to be quiet. That's wisdom. Like knowing when, to be calm, in the midst of confusion.
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
Yep.
That's the Holy Spirit.
Back in Baruch.
Baruch 3:6, it says, for thou art the Lord our God.
Right, ours. That's the biggest mystery right there, is the most downtrodden, beaten, easily that looks like defeated people. The world doesn't even know that they are the only ones that have a God.
Yep.
Okay?
And it reads,
oh my God, Jesus Christ. All that shit.
Yep.
All that heathen energy.
Right.
And
it says, in thee, O Lord, will we praise.
Yeah.
And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in our hearts, to the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise. And that's why you got to fear.
Let's kick right here a little bit. Keep going.
Okay. And it says,
be stationary right here.
Okay, got you. And it says that we should call upon thy name.
We should call upon thy name. And we're in a time too where we're in the spirit to bless the name. We're like, man, Barak Yahweh Shai, because it's been on my spirit to express how, the times that we're in, we're just thanking the Lord but because we're getting by, we're getting through. We're not praising the Lord because you something that you wanted in the world.
Right.
It's because what the Lord is just doing for you.
Right.
And
it reads, it says, and praise thee in our captivity.
So a part of groaning is calling on the name.
You got to.
A part of you groaning is calling on the name.
You got to.
Yeah.
Because Christianity don't teach you about groaning to Jesus. About calling upon it. Now say believe in his name, but that's as far as they go. John 3:16. But Christianity don't teach you about being in captivity, saying that you're Israel, none of that shit.
Well, let me ask you this. What does Christianity even groan about?
Nothing. It's prosperity doctrine.
Right. Yep. Sow a seed.
Yep. And it says, and praise thee in our captivity.
And praise thee.
Our captivity.
In our captivity. While we're groaning, we're also praising. Oh, what's that? Fat Boy Slim? I want to praise you like I should. And it says you can't do enough.
For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers.
See, that's why we're repenting. We're lowly. We're just like, man, just have mercy on us. Baba Kasha, please make us of that number. Doing everything we can in the midst of the famine of the word coming, the famine of hearing the word, in the midst of prophecy taking place, in the midst of catching hell, the Spirit is still inspiring us to just press record.
Yep.
while still groaning in Egypt.
Exactly, man. And it says, the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before thee, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity.
Wow.
It said,
What's
behold,
today's date?
Today's August 8th, I believe.
2025. August 8th, 2025. As Elder Pastor said, believe it or not,
Yep.
we're still in captivity, man.
Yep. The year of Esau's destruction
And hopeful deliverance.
And it says, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments.
See?
It didn't say payment. It said payments.
Yep.
You know, holes in your pockets.
Yep.
You know?
But this is why now it's so important for us to seek the Lord while he may be found.
Right.
You know, it's so important now, brothers. Like, I know, and sisters, I know you're in hell. I know you got to work. Okay? I know you got shit you got to deal with just like us. But we are closer to the kingdom today than we were yesterday.
Right.
You know, so continue to sigh and cry. Continue to pray. You got any closing precepts?
It's a little more in this
Okay.
verse. And it says, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God.
Yep.
Hear, Israel, the commandments of life, give ear to understand wisdom.
Boom. So this is the time to capitalize on the wisdom and understanding that has been laid for us. So we're showing our due diligence. You know, it says give attention to reading, exhortation, studying. So, you know, don't forget your first love.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, we're in captivity and we're groaning, but there is a purpose behind it all. So don't get caught up in the bars of the jail cell. Look past and remember there's a release date.
Right.
You know, so we're going to end it there. We pray that this lesson was edifying, and we just want to say, call halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our elders, bishops, and apostles of Great Millstone that do well. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect. With that being said, shalom.